So with everything that's been going on in relation to the home renovation stuff and the other work that I've had to get done, a lot of my own personal projects have sort of been put on hold for a little bit. And about 6 months ago, before the world started to go crazy, I had a couple of projects in mind that sort of just ground to a halt. So I thought I'd bring you up to date on what my plans are as far as those things are concerned. The first one, which was a teaser from my last major reveal video that some of you may have picked up on, is the plan to build a 1/4 scale Delorean time machine. There's lots of different versions available, but as far as I know, nobody's ever done one in a 1/4 scale before outside the movies themselves. And I thought this one might be the sort of project where I could finally incorporate handmade components along with some 3D printed elements now that I've got the 3D printer. This is one that's been in the back of my head for a long time, so I've been collecting a lot of reference material on it for quite a while, and during my research I came across this one. It's a Delorean that's been converted to run on electric, and after looking into it further, amazingly it's only one suburb away from where I live. So I took the chance and drove out to where they are, and as it turns out it's been brought down to their workshop area where it's been stripped down to be completely upgraded with all new electrics and sort of brought more up to date. So I let them know what I've got in mind, and they've been kind enough to let me take photos and drop into the workshop whenever I need to take physical measurements of the life-size car, and that's going to end up helping me quite a bit as far as getting the scale sorted out for the model that I'll be creating. The original blueprints for the car are also fairly readily available, so I'll be using those as reference as well, and I hope to be able to build it from the inside out using stock pieces of aluminium for the frame and a combination of found elements and 3D printed components to work out the high detail areas. And then for the body paneling, my plan is to use the aluminium laminated stuff that I've used before in other projects. For anyone who hasn't seen this, this is a laminate product where it has very thin sheets of aluminium on both sides. One side tends to be coloured or powder coated, and the other side just tends to be the raw aluminium. And my thoughts are that a brushed finish on that metallic side with the appropriate weathering and stuff will give us a really nice stainless steel effect that will mimic the panels of the car. I've had to play around with the shaping of this stuff, and whilst it's not to scale, you can see there that it has the potential to sort of do what I want to do with the flaring of where a wheel arch might be and with the shaping and the bending of the panels. This is really rough, and it's really just a quick test to see if the principle's there, but it's sort of encouraged me enough that I think I'll pursue that idea and see how it goes. So this one's going to be a long-term project, and I'll probably be chipping away at it little bit by little bit as I work out different elements of it, so I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. The other thing that was happening in the background is I placed an order for a 1-to-1 character that again I'd always planned on building, and the delivery was delayed so long and it was out just floating around the world for a couple of months, and I'd sort of written off the possibility that I was even going to get it, and then out of the blue about a month ago it did actually turn up in the post. And that is this guy. Which is a 1-to-1 scale gremlin figure. This is one of those ones that's made out of that vinyl modelling sort of stuff, so it's a little bit distorted in some of the areas, so I need to heat it up in some hot water to make sure that the shape is all correct and get it fixed up. So the plan is mostly to use this guy as a scale reference for what I'm going to be doing, and I'll probably end up building this as a finished piece, but the real plan is mostly to be using it as a sizing reference for what I'm going to be doing with it. And while the details are really quite nice on these models, the big thing with them is that they're still really rigid, even down to the ears and that sort of stuff. They're quite solid. So my idea is that I'm going to use the techniques that I've done previously on other builds, like the battle damaged Terminator head and the Alien's face hugger, to make up a soft silicon version of this that has articulation in the joints, and the ears and that sort of stuff will be a lot softer and sort of match more within what the character should look like. My plan as far as like the arms and legs and all that sort of stuff is concerned is to, as I said, use this as a reference point for the correct size and what it should look like, but internally I want to make up an articulated skeleton so that again it can be repositioned into different poses rather than just being locked in place as a purely static model. The idea that I've got in mind for that is this. This is the magnifying glass setup that I made for my milling machine so they can get in and see things a little bit closer when I'm sort of doing that work, and you can see how I've made those joints up there. This is purely some cheap curtain rods and some PVC tube connectors that are quite close for those rod ends, and you can see there how I'm using them as ball joints, and it works really nicely in terms of holding and positioning in place. The PVC parts that I'm using come in different pieces as far as T-pieces are concerned, and different sorts of angles along with the straight pieces, and the larger pieces like that should give me the types of joints I need for the hips and elbows and that sort of thing. Once I get down to the smaller joints within the wrist and elbow and that sort of stuff, I've also found a different type of connector, which are these ones. And I've used these in the past to make up like a helping hand sort of arm attachment on my workbench. And the idea with those is that they can be positioned into different positions that I can use as like soldering arms for those fiddlier little jobs if you're trying to get something glued up or just held in place. So hopefully with the larger and the smaller joints there, I should be able to create an internal sort of skeleton that'll get the effect that I'm going for. And then for the skinniest joint pieces, I should be able to use just basic armature wire so that I can make those fingers bend into the positions that I want to as well. So along with everything else I'll be doing, that'll be another project to keep an eye out for. But that'll be the update for this time, guys. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.